morning. I'm Bill Turcott, and someone says I'm the president of RAC, so here I am. I have been here 12 years, so this is new to me. Right? But anyway, let's start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hey, folks, before we start, I'd like to take a moment to remember Ron Sweet, the past president of RAC. His contributions to RAC are perhaps best remembered by his creation of racrep.org, the website of the Resident Association Council. Ron served 2 terms as president, and his contributions have greatly enhanced communications between RAC and the residents. And by the way, you probably noticed in your weekly that came out today that there will be a memorial for Ron in the auditorium at 10 o'clock on April 9th. April 9th. Now, let's have a moment of silence. Thank you for that. All right. This will tell you that I was once a teacher, because what I want to do first is, what is RAC? Rock? RAC? I mean, it took me years to try to figure out the difference between the two. This is RAC, okay? And RAC was established by the state of Florida, all right? And it is a requirement for CCRCs, you know, the Continuing Care Retirement Community, CCRCs, right? And it's a requirement that there be a RAC. Oh, it's bad. And so we have a council. The council is made up of residents, right? And the residents represent you all, you know. And so at this point, I would like to introduce these people who are representing you. Do we have the next slide? Oh no, the next one, the next one. Okay, this is, we have just recently had an election at Freedom Plaza, okay, and for the RAC people. And this is our new slate of officers. Kathy Bohr is now the RAC vice president, and I think she's somewhere on the Caribbean right now, you know. But notice the picture. Isn't that Hollywood?
Yeah.
Look at, huh? Yeah. It's not even in color, it's in black and white. But I'm amazed at it. Okay. All right, then we have our RAC secretary, all right? Deanna Cape is our RAC secretary. Some of you may know Deanna from trivia, because she's here every trivia night and so on, and keeps all the statistics for people, right? And now she is assumed the secretary's role. She's been an old timer on RAC, all right, and we appreciate her. And now, you, the residents, have representatives from each floor. There is a representative called a RAC rep, okay, from the BC wing and from the DE wing. And so we have here on up here on the screen, we have Carolyn O'Neill, who's now returning. She's now representing the first floor. Yay, okay. All right, try to keep it down, folks. And we have Alice Aragon, right from the second floor. Alice. Moving up, we're still on the west side of the building, moving up to Joyce McCutcheon on the third floor. Joyce? All right, hold it down. All right, and Vienna Cape, of course, is on the fourth floor, right? And TBD, you remember TBD, right? We went to school together. We have a vacancy. That's your position. You can have it. No, seriously, if you would like to be a RAC rep, you don't have to necessarily be from that floor. But if you want to be a RAC rep, let one of us RAC reps know, or myself, or the office, somebody, and then we'll talk to you about it, and you can become a RAC rep. We do have a vacancy, okay. And then from the sixth floor, we have Ron Carter. And representing the seventh floor, Letha Jones. Letha. From the east side of the building, right? We have Pat Cummings in the first floor. Pam, I'm sorry, Pam. I'm new at this. Harry Heinz from the second floor. Hintz, not Heinz. And he's new to the organization. Carolyn O'Brien from the third floor. Carolyn? Representing the fourth, Al Roberts. And Doug Heim from the fifth floor, Doug. C. Schultz representing the sixth floor. Thank you. And Janet Warren from the seventh floor. Janet. And Gulf View Terrace, right. And we're back to the Hollywood person there, Kathy Moore, right? And back on the BRAC is Pearl Birnbaum. You remember Pearl? She was president of BRAC for a number of years. Yeah, a number of years, right. And Ron Wazarek. Now, these three people, Kathy, Pearl, and Ron, represent two buildings down in GBT, right? All right. And that is your RAC reps, okay. Now, a few weeks ago, you all received in your mailboxes a sheet of paper, like we get so many of those things, but it was a sheet of paper asking you to nominate a DRR. What's a DRR, right? And it was, the DRR was established by the state of Florida. It is part of the law that governs CCRCs. It's a position for RAC, all right? And, well, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our new DRR, and she will tell you what DRR stands for and what it does and so on. All right. Would you please welcome Sandra Thorson, our new DRR.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Some of what I say is going to repeat what Bill just said, but that's okay because repeating it will just enforce it. You can tell we didn't compare notes very carefully when we prepared our comments, but that's okay. So I'm very happy that the RAC Council elected me to serve as the Freedom Plaza designated resident representative Try saying that 3 times in a row fast. I dare you. I'm just going to refer to DRR because it's a whole lot easier to say. The position of DRR is intended to give residents of continuing care communities a greater voice by creating a new channel of communication between residents and CCRC management. This morning, I'd like to tell you about the position of DRR and how it applies to Freedom Plaza. Then I'd like to conclude by talking a bit about what I hope we can accomplish as a result of this new channel of communication. As you may recall, Chapter 651 of the Florida statutes protects the interests of residents of CCRCs. What you may not know, or you wouldn't have known if Bill hadn't just told you, is that one of the ways that Chapter 651 protects us is by requiring every CCRC to have a resident council to represent the interests of residents. And at Freedom Plaza, that council is RAC. RAC represents Freedom Plaza residents through resident committees that touch on almost every aspect of life at Freedom Plaza, and through regularly scheduled general meetings like this one. In addition, Chapter 651 directs each resident council to elect a DRR to represent residents' point of view at management meetings where budgets, annual fees, and changes in resident services are discussed. Now, at this point, you may be thinking, okay, great, but why haven't I heard about a DRR until now? Fair question. Probably the major reason is that the ownership structure of Freedom Plaza is different from the ownership structure that the DRR provision is based on. Chapter 651 pictures a single CCRC that is owned and managed by the same company. It imagines that this company has a board of directors that meets on a regular basis to make decisions about budgets, monthly service fees, and resident programs and services. And these are the meetings that the DRR is entitled to attend to represent residents' point of view. However, Freedom Plaza is just not organized that way at all. It's completely different. Freedom Plaza is owned by Healthpeak Properties, which is a large publicly traded company that owns literally hundreds of different properties. Most of the properties it owns are medical offices and scientific laboratories. Out of all those hundreds, only 15 of its properties are CCRCs, 9 of which are in Florida. Healthpeak doesn't directly manage any aspect of Freedom Plaza. Instead, Healthpeak has hired Life Care Services to manage its 9 Florida CCRCs. Life Care Services is also a large company. It manages 141 senior living communities across the USA. So even Life Care Services doesn't have the kind of meetings that Chapter 651 contemplates. Because of the different type of management structure, Freedom Plaza hasn't focused on the DRR position until very recently. So why are we suddenly talking about a DRR for Freedom Plaza? The reason is that last year, Florida enacted a number of amendments to Chapter 651. At that time, I was the legislative chair of the Freedom Plaza chapter of FLICRA, and we studied the amendments and became especially interested in the provisions relating to the DRR. because we were unfamiliar with it. So we asked a RAC council member about it, and that one thing led to another, led to the formation of a RAC council committee that worked with FLICRA to get, to add a RAC, to add a provision to the RAC bylaws, creating the position of DRR and defining how it would be structured, what the DRR would do, and how it would, that position would be filled. And as Bill said, there was an election by the RAC Council last month, almost exactly a month ago, and I was elected. At the same time that here at Freedom Plaza, FLICRA and RAC were working together to create this position, at the same time, the FLICRA chapters and resident councils of the 9 Florida Health Peak CCRCs were also working together to come up with a plan to propose to Life Care Services to implement the DRR provisions of Chapter 651 that would take into account this unique management structure that makes the actual provision under the law not work. At this point, Life Care Services has agreed that it will meet with the DRRs of each of the 9 CCRCs, but we still need to work out the details of who will meet with us and how frequently, what the schedule will be. We're still working on that, and I will, from time to time, keep you informed on the progress, because if we can't organize a plan, then we don't really have much. So we've made a very good start with identifying Life Care Services as the appropriate body to have meetings, but we still have to figure out what kind of meetings they will be, when they will be held, and who will attend. What do I hope we can accomplish by having a DRR? Well, let me first say that at the Freedom Plaza level, our voices are already being heard by local management. Angie really means it when she says nothing is ever set in stone. The proposed changes to the transportation program, for example, were canceled when it became clear that residents were really opposed to them. And currently, Angie, Teresa, and Chef Jamie continue to make adjustments so that the new dining program works well for everyone. But Freedom Plaza residents do not have a direct communication channel with Life Care Services, and that's what we're trying to accomplish, and that's what we're hoping that the DRR can help establish. I hope that we can develop a channel of communication with Life Care Services that is as effective as the communication channels we already have with local Freedom Plaza management, especially with respect to changes in programs and services that both residents and local management would like to see made. So, what do I hope to accomplish as the DRR for Freedom Plaza? To sum it up in a single sentence, my objective is to make what is already a very good place into a great place for all of us.
Thank you, Sandra, thank you. It's all ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to it. By the way, what I hope to have in the future is when there's information to bring to you through what the work that she will be doing and so on, we will bring it. We may have a feature every month that we meet here, that she's on the board, she's on the agenda, and we'll do a report. So you will hear from her again in the future, right? And I thank you very much for what you just did, right? I appreciate it. Right? And by the way, I'll tell you one more little story, is how did she get to be selected. All right, you know, I told you about, you got the papers, you made a nomination. Those nominations came to a committee of RAC, right, a nominating committee of RAC. They went through all the nominations that you gave, right, and submitted 4 names to the council. So, and the council took the 4, and by secret ballot, they elected, you know, Sandra, you know. So that's how she ended up with the position. All right. And again, thank you very much for what you've done, for what you said. Well, now, we will now hear from our executive director, who's just been sitting there chomping at the bit. Angie Rule, people.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to take a minute to share some of my comments about Ron and his memory. I met with Ron bi-weekly. We spent about an hour and a half together every other Wednesday, and we had some really great conversations. And by no stretch do we always agree on every topic that we discussed, but we always were able to speak to each other professionally, respectfully, and always had a good laugh in the process. So I will miss him. I appreciate everything he did for you all and the support he gave me. So I just wanted to say that before I got to some of my comments. I hope everybody had a chance to see the new carpet in the sports bar. I've been hearing lovely things about it, so we're happy we were able to get that in this week. I also saw some new furniture out on the second floor sun deck. I think we have some more in the works that will be coming to complement that, as well as some new furniture for the GVT pool deck that I know people have been asking for. So that's in the works as well. I wanted to take a minute to thank Marcia Wilson and Mark Stefanelli and all the members of the Garden Club for all the time and effort they've put into the Freedom Gardens. It's just lovely, and I know the marketing gals are very thankful for the garden, and it's one more beautiful amenity they can show prospective residents. Also a place for you all to go out and enjoy. So thank you for all the hard work in the garden. I want to make a comment. I know I've talked to some residents, received some emails, and I think over the last maybe few weeks, you have seen a 6-passenger golf cart used as our tram. So just want to give a little backstory behind that. It is a new vehicle we were able to purchase with our capital budget this year. Through our floor meetings that we did last spring and then again in the fall, I received some comments from residents or feedback or suggestions, however you want to word it, that they were longtime residents, and they remember back in the days when we had a tram that was a 6-passenger golf cart, and a gentleman named CT would drive everybody around. And CT is a fond memory for everybody. He did a great job in the tram, and he was real quick. I know when I came in the morning, if CT saw my car pull in, he was sitting behind me till I had a chance to open up my driver's side door and give me a ride to the front entrance. So they were wanting to know if we could go back to that because you know, it would give us another vehicle to take residents to appointments, because we know we've talked a lot about that being a struggle. But I think on the flip side of that, we know there's some limitations to doing that. So we've learned quickly that it's probably not prudent to use that vehicle to go to Freedom Plaza Assisted Living and Memory Care, at least until that sidewalk is repaired that goes down Galen Court, because it feels like you're going four-wheeling, you know, and somebody may fly out of the golf cart. And obviously it's something that we would only do in appropriate weather conditions. I can't imagine us using that much beyond April as a means of a tram. Obviously not in the rain, but when weather makes sense, you may see that used as a tram. But I don't think it's currently being used for other reasons, as we have cars in and out of the shop and how we're able to manipulate the fleet. So going on with golf cart tram. Wanted to give a sales update. So if I would have given a sales update a few weeks ago, it would have been a little more grim. But I am happy to say that our first quarter budget for sales is 10, and we are looking at 13 sales by the end of March, which is pretty impressive. We have a really great sales team. We've had a couple things that have really kind of given the boost. We had a great event 2 weeks ago at the Plaza Club where we had a gentleman come in. He's a financial expert that works a lot in the senior living industry, and he was able to give a presentation to folks on the benefits of moving to a life care or life plan community from a financial perspective. And it's a little more meaningful when it doesn't come from me or Iris or Dennis. You know, we all have skin in the game, right? So when you get somebody that doesn't have skin in the game tell you what a great financial plan it is for someone to move to a life plan community, it is a little more effective. So we were able, I think 3 of our sales are going to be a result of that event. So that's something that we're going to plan to do maybe twice a year. We don't want to overdo it because it'll lose its luster, but something we'll do on a regular basis. We are still struggling to keep up with our move-outs. And when I say move-outs, I mean folks that are transitioning to higher levels of care. We had a lot of those transitions in the fourth quarter of last year, as well as the first quarter this year. So our hope is after March, those will start to slow down because it is cyclical. You know, you'll have a couple months where you have a lot of move-outs and then it slows down for 6 months and then you start all over again. So we're hopeful that that'll slow up and it'll give us an opportunity to catch up on our occupancy. Next, I want to mention, and I did say this in the memo this week, that our on-site representative from the National Institute for Fitness and Sports, which we call NIFS, will be starting next week. He'll be here Monday. We're going to get him set up in the back room of the fitness center, at least temporarily. Just a small table where he can put a laptop and do work. I don't think his plan is to spend much time sitting on a laptop, but he probably will have to do some administrative things from time to time. So he will be doing that there. He will have someone from NIFS, the director, actually with him next week, helping him sort of get started here at Freedom Plaza. And then he will be formally introduced at Town Hall in April, which is on April 2nd. And he will also give a general overview of the program, what his ideas are, and he's going to get started. So looking forward to have him here full time. And to piggyback on some of Sandra's comments about the preferred dining program, I want to say a lot of thank yous. I want to say thank you to you all, the residents, for being patient with us and trusting us as we've made this big change in our dining program. I want to say thank you to Teresa and her team for all the hard work they've been doing to make this program successful. I know you see it firsthand in the grill, but there's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes to try and execute the best we can. And I think we've had a lot of positive outcomes in the first month and a half or so, 2 months. And we're continuing to make adjustments, and we will continue to do that when it makes sense, because we want it to be the best experience for you, and we want to make it as efficient as we can for our teams behind the scenes as well. So far so good. And continue to share your comments and feedback with myself, with Teresa, with Pamela, Melly, and Chef, and we will do our best to accommodate those. We just are in almost the very final stages of completing a full renovation at Freedom Plaza Assisted Living and the Arbors. I know we had our final furniture delivery this week, and I'm not sure if the artwork is here yet, but if not, it's coming early next week, and everything looks beautiful. So I know Kim and her team are gonna have a grand reopening, sort of open house, towards the end of April. So I encourage all of you to go down and check it out. It's really, really lovely. It's gonna be great for the residents that live there. So I'm excited about that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I've had some requests to do, way back in Brookdale days, we did a presentation called Transitions in Care, and it really was a detailed presentation on the process of moving from one level of care to another. And we're going to pick up that series again, and we're going to start in the May town hall meeting, and it's going to specifically talk about the transition from independent living to assisted living or memory care. And so all the pertinent folks that are involved in that process are gonna talk about their role and how it works. We'll have some hard copy information for you at that time. And then the second part of that will be more focused on Plaza West, and the Plaza West team will be here and we'll share information about that. So wanted to give you a little save the date. So May Town Hall will be that first transition in care presentation. So that's all I have. Pearl?
You know I'm gonna ask you, give me clarification if you could about this, the golf cart thing. How are you using it? Who's being picked up? Do we have to go in that in order to come to the main building?
So I don't think it's actually being used as a tram now at all.
I mean, what is the future for?
I don't know that we've clearly defined it. This is what I do know. We're only going to use it in times when it's weather appropriate, and we're only going to use it when we're not going to take it to Freedom Plaza Assisted Living and Memory Care.
Yeah, I'm talking about from GB.
Yes.
Come to the main building during the day.
Yes,
Are
so,
we going to use that again like we did in 2012?
I mean, there's a possibility that may be the tram one day.
Why?
Because we've had people request it, and we need vehicles to take folks to medical appointments.
I'm not even talking about medical, that's coming from GB.
I understand, but if we're able to use the 6-passenger golf cart as a tram, that frees up a vehicle to be able to take somebody else to a medical appointment.
How about the heat?
Well, I said, it probably doesn't make sense to use it past April. So it's gonna be when weather is appropriate to use it, it may be used as the tram.
I don't know who requested it.
I can share it with you, if you'd like. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I made a note here. Did she say skin in the game? Skin in the... You mean if I have these meetings with you every 2 weeks, I'm going to be skin in the game? It's confusing. You're right, it's confusing. All right, it's now, it's question time. Isn't that cute? Do you have any questions for RAC? Wow.
How many candidates did we have for the DRR, and who was on the short list?
All right, she asked how many candidates for the DRR and who was on the short list. Well, I can tell you that there were several candidates for the DRR. Oh, first of all, we formed from RAC, we formed a committee, right, to receive all the nominations. We looked at the nominations. We, the committee, submitted 4 names to the council, and the council voted in secret ballot, right? Yes. No, the council voted in secret ballot, and elected the DRR. That's how that evolved. To answer your question?
How many candidates did we have?
Well, I don't think I ought to tell you about, I mean, that's, I will want to avoid that question, if I may.
I think it would be helpful for everybody if we had a projected calendar for RAC meetings and town meetings. So that's my request.
Okay, Angie and I will talk about that.
Please, thanks.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, there's still some more goodies over there. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time. All right. Yeah.